All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ladies Lounge with Wonder Lowe. I'm your host, Wonder Lowe. I am excited about being here tonight. Hey, it's the beginning of December, y'all. This year has certainly flown by fast. And I think for all of the things that have happened in 2020, we're probably happy that it's kind of going by a little bit fast. I hope that everybody had a really great Thanksgiving, that everything went well, that you enjoyed your turkey and dressing, if that's what you had, or if you saw the last show, we talked about non-traditional meals. So if you did something that was non-traditional, then I hope you enjoyed that as well. You know, this was probably the first year that we weren't able to really just hang out with family and friends and be close, and we had to celebrate in-house and kind of had to celebrate with a smaller group of people because of COVID. And of course, we certainly didn't want to, have a whole bunch of guests around, have a lot of people around and mess around. We pass on germs and all that other good stuff. So I know that probably was a little bit different for everybody. For those of you who may have to celebrate on a smaller scale, I was used to us always having a house full of people around the holidays and the relatives coming over, my parents, my husband's parents, our kids and grandkids, and everybody being there. And this year we had to tone it down a whole lot because of course, you don't want to have too many folks. And like I said, you don't want to spread germs. So hope you still enjoyed it, enjoyed your turkey and your dressing and all your other good stuff you had. And I hope we also kept in mind those that were less fortunate who maybe didn't have a chance to have those things. So also the families that were bereaved around that time. And my family was one of those, not just one time, but twice. We had my brother passed away on my side of the family. On my husband's side of the family, his uncle passed away. So just continue to keep us in your prayers and keep us lifted up. Everybody's doing fine, but again, it's still a big loss, especially when it comes that close around the holiday for everybody. Now, housekeeping stuff. If you have not done already, please go to the Ladies Lounge on Facebook and like our page. It's the Ladies Lounge Wonder Lowe on Facebook. It's also the same thing on Instagram and on YouTube. So we have a channel on YouTube also. I don't post as much as I should over there, and I will start doing that in the coming year. I have some things planned to kind of boost that a little bit, but we want to get our subscribers up on that page. So make sure that if you liked us already on Facebook, that you also like us on Instagram, and that you go over and visit the YouTube page and like us there also. I'll be looking for some, now I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, and this is still housekeeping stuff as usual. But this year coming up, I want to kind of change how I've been doing things or how the shows have been going and some of the topics. And I think in the last couple of shows, just having this after conversation after the show we did on, I think it was the holiday blues, or having the depression around the holidays and dealing with emotions around the holidays. And we had like the best after show. Now, sometimes you all think that when the cameras go off, everything is done. Nah, sometimes we hang around and we just sit here and chit chat. And that night, I think out of that conversation, about 8 new show ideas came out of my head. So I'll be reaching out to people from near and far, because I want to start getting guests from other states and kind of bringing them in and bringing them into the conversation so that we can kind of get a wider perspective on things. But I'll be reaching out here probably in the next month or two to some of you again about coming back and maybe talking about different topics or bringing some more kind of grittier shows. It's the Ladies Lounge. We're supposed to talk about lady stuff. So I want to make sure that we have some shows coming up that we're going to have guys still on, because when I started, I did not do guys on the show. And then it got to be like, hey, they have a voice too. We're going to talk to them too. We ain't going to just exclude them from everything. Although sometimes we ought to, but we're not. But get more back to the topics that interest us, some of the things that we want to talk about. We will be talking about everything from A to Z. And when I say A to Z, I mean from sex to whatever else you want to talk about. We'll be talking about on the show. So stay tuned for 2021. We'll be doing some brand new branding. We'll be doing some new things. And I want to make sure that you all stay along for the ride. I appreciate you so far. Now, I don't advertise a lot page. I don't advertise my page a lot on Facebook, and I don't share it a lot, but please go over. I'm at 399 likes. Somebody please give me that one tonight so I can get 400. I'd appreciate that so much. but go over and like the page and just make sure that you comment. If there's things that you want to share, there is a group that's associated with this page, and it's called the Ladies Lounge Group. So if you want to join that group, that's fine. Go over to the page. You'll be able to see that also. But just in the future, no, we're going to do some more shows. We're going to have some more exciting topics. We're going to have some more exciting guests, and we're going to get into some things and get into some topics that are really, really serious and that really, really affect the lives of women. As always, we want to do things that empower you, that encourage you, and that educate you to make you and help you live a better life. So we want to make sure that we stay with that. But I am always excited when I tune on every Tuesday and we have people that are watching, that are going back and watching the videos later, that are liking the page, that are liking the comments. I appreciate that. So thank you, because I want to say it on this today in case I don't get to say it before the end of the month. Thank you, everyone who has been a guest, who has been a watcher, a listener, or whatever way you participate in the show. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for 2020. It has been a wonderful year. I've had some amazing guests. They've had amazing information. I've had a great time talking to each and every one of you. Some of you, is my one tonight, I call repeat offenders, have been on the show more than once or twice. I appreciate every single one of you guys that you tune in every week, that you keep up with me. Again, I see some people out and they go, I didn't know you had a show, and I watch and I love it. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate the encouragement. And just know in 2021, we're going to try to do bigger and better. We're going to try to do a whole lot more, try to get a little bit bigger and be a whole lot better. So again, thank you all for tuning in tonight. So without further ado, and I have to, this repeat offender, I don't feel like I have to introduce him, but he's been here multiple times. And every single time has been an absolute pleasure. He always has good information. He always gives us a good history lesson. He always provides us with good information about a great program that he has coming up. And this is Brian Rodgers, and he is the community liaison for Mosaic Templars Cultural Center here in Little Rock. So that's most I'm going to say about you. He is a history buff, and I'm going to let him tell you the rest of it. All right, Mr. Brian, with a welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show again. Of course, I feel like this is a home, and I'm always eager to do your show. And whenever we have anything coming up at the museum, you're the first person I reach out to, because I always know I have a home here at the Ladies Lounge, even though I'm a man and you're about to start excluding us from the show. But I just want you to know. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'll let you slide on that one.
No, I'm not going to kick y'all out. I'm going to make sure there's always a place for you to come in, because I like when you come in and talk about history and you teach us something, and I learn something every time we have a show. So I'm not going to kick you out. But we might, matter of fact, we might even get more of y'all. Never know.
Yeah, well, a few more won't.
All right. Well, let's talk about what you have going on right now at Mosaic Templars.
Well, it's the holiday season, like you mentioned, and it's a different bit of a holiday this year because of the pandemic. Normally, we would do our holiday open house featuring Say It Ain't Say sweet potato pie competition, which everyone loves because you get to eat sweet potato pie. And, we get to honor Say McIntosh, who is a Central Arkansas legend. He was one of the first to do the Black Santa. He, gave out food for the hungry, and he just did so many things for our community. It's always a pleasure to be able to.
Fast, and I think for all of the things that that was me. Don't worry about it. That was me. Sorry about that. I was trying to cut it off. I think for all of the things that have happened. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, now that was me. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, yeah, I was just saying it's always a pleasure to be able to pay respects to Mr. McIntosh. And then, in addition to doing the holiday open house, we also do our Cocoa and Carols event.
Mm-hmm.
We do our Cocoa and Carols event where we bring in a Black Santa for the kids to come and for the kids to come and spend some time with Santa. We do cookie demonstrations, how to decorate cookies. We do, have music and singing from some of the local middle school choirs, as well as cookies and cocoa for people to enjoy. Well, we couldn't do that this year. We couldn't have crowds at the museum, so we figured since our virtual Juneteenth was such a huge success, that we do a virtual Christmas special. So we combined our holiday open house and our Cocoa and Carols. We took the best of both of them and put them together and created a new event called A Very Merry MTCC Holiday Special, which is our first ever virtual Christmas event. And so we're really excited to present that to people on Sunday, December 6th at 5 p.m.
Okay. I like anything involving cookies and cocoa.
Yeah.
So that's probably fun.
Cocoa and Carols was growing. It was becoming a very good event because, people want their kids to have an opportunity to take a picture with a Santa who looks like them. And so we gave them that, and it was free. And, it started out, small. I think the first year we did it, we maybe had, 50 to 75 people. And last year was our third year doing it. And we probably had 350 people.
Wow.
The line to take pictures with Santa was like 2 hours long. It was an amazing event last year. And we were really looking forward to making it bigger this year. But of course, the Rona came.
Say the Rona came.
Yeah.
Well, Rona has messed up a lot of stuff, but Rona ain't stopping nothing.
It's not going to stop anything. I mean, we're going to do things a little bit different, but we're going to have the best of both of the events. So in addition to having some really amazing artists perform, we have Marvin Williams, who people may know from as the singing chef. He's going to do a sweet potato pie demonstration. Latrice Smith is doing a cookie decorating demonstration, and the event is hosted by Mrs. Claus, and Santa makes an appearance reading a couple of letters from some kids from the community. So it's going to be a really good, really fun event. And like I said, this is going to be free of charge. It's going to be on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel on Sunday evening, starting at 5 p.m.
Okay. Well, if you have, now this is one of those times, I think the weather's supposed to get bad this weekend, so we'll already be in the house. I say grab your cocoa, your marshmallows, your cookies, and get in front of get in front of the computer. This is the odd thing. We used to say gather around the TV and watch stuff. Well, this time, let's gather around and watch this on YouTube. So yeah, that sounds like a great event. And I know me and the grandkids had planned this weekend to do our little, we do a monthly sleepover. And we always create a craft around, whatever holiday is coming up. So last month we did Thanksgiving and we did little turkey pumpkins, little turkeys out of pumpkins. So I have to come up with something for them to do this year. So maybe.
Well, you don't because we've partnered with Central Arkansas Library System and they're doing a craft. And you can pick up the craft packets at the library and do the craft with them during the broadcast.
Oh, okay. So any library has those?
They should. All of the Central Arkansas Library branches should have one. But email me tomorrow and I'll have a definite answer for you. And we can get that on your Facebook page so your viewers who want to pick up those craft kits will know where to go.
Yes. So you just saved me a whole lot of work. Well, they told me they want to do gingerbread cookies and a gingerbread house. So,
we're not doing that. So
yeah. Well, no, you just saved me from doing that.
I think the library is going to be making Christmas ornaments from pieces of plastic and pipe cleaners. I think that's what they're doing.
I haven't pipe cleaners. So
yeah.
Well, good. Then that just gave us something to do. We can do that Sunday and sit around and drink our cocoa and watch the show. So that sounds good.
Yeah. It's going to be a really good show. And in addition to a very merry MTCC Holiday Special, we also have Kwanzaa coming up at the end of the month. And what we're doing, because, we normally have a Kwanzaa event at the museum, but, again, we can't have large groups gathering. So what
Mhm.
we've done is we found 7 families in the community, and each night of Kwanzaa, we're going to play a video of that family celebrating Kwanzaa that night at home. They're going to
Oh,
tell you a little bit about the day that they're celebrating and how it can be celebrated, and that's going to be a lot available on our Facebook page and YouTube channel as well.
that's going to be really cool. And that actually will give people who are interested in celebrating the holiday an idea of what it actually looks like. You know, we talk about it a lot, and I've heard people talk about it, but I don't know really anybody that actually does it. So
Yeah,
that
I mean,
would
there's
be
actually a large community within the city of Little Rock that celebrates Kwanzaa. And the
good.
thing that I think that people don't realize is that Kwanzaa is in essence a harvest festival,
Hmm.
right? And you're celebrating the bounty of the earth and celebrating things like um, cooperative work and cooperative economics. It's about the community coming together and building on one another and being supportive to one another. And I think that's the beauty of what Kwanzaa is really about.
Hmm. See, that would be interesting because I'd watch that each time just so my grandkids can kind of get an idea of what it means. And all of
Yeah,
us, do. We've always talked about it, and I'll have to admit that guilty. We've never done it. I've gotten the stuff together one year to do it, and then something happened, of course, and it didn't happen. But I've always been really interested in actually celebrating and actually understanding fully what each night means and what each of the what I want to call them rituals, what each one of the parts of it means.
right. Each of the days has a different meaning.
Mhm.
And I don't, I regret that I don't know a lot about Kwanzaa, but I know that there's a day that's cooperative economics.
Mhm.
There's a day that's about um, cooperative spirit, creativity, and each of the days is celebrated. And there's a different theme that's celebrated with each of the 7 days of Kwanzaa.
Okay. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, that to me will be a really great learning experience then for all of us. So we can tune in and watch that, and then next year, when it's time to celebrate, we can do so. So that way, everybody
Yeah,
knows what they're supposed to do. Yeah, that sounds.
yeah, yeah.
So now I'm ready for my history lesson.
Okay, so so since we are coming up on the end of the year, I've been researching watch night service. I know we've talked about it in the past, but I have a little bit more information about it. Um, so it originated in what is now the Czech Republic
Mhm.
in the 1730s, and it was called Watch Night Service, but it was by the Moravian Church, which was a small sect of Christianity in Eastern Europe. Well, in the 1740s, John Wesley, who founded the Methodist Church, picked it up and brought it to America. And it was through the Methodist Church that African Americans first discovered it. Now, the original point of the service is that it was about reflection and meditation on the year that passed and basically asking yourself, are you ready? If God should return in the upcoming year, would you be ready to face judgment?
Mhm.
And so that's what it was originally about. And so because the Methodist Church opened up to African Americans early, Black people were attending the St. George Methodist Church in Philadelphia, and they picked up this service. Well, as so fast forward to the 1860s, the Civil War breaks out over slavery. I don't care what anybody ever tells you. Don't let them tell you that the Civil War was fought over any other reason but slavery.
Okay.
The secession articles that each of the states in the South passed saying why they were leaving the Union expressly mentioned slavery. So don't let people tell you it was about anything else but slavery. So Abraham Lincoln issues the Emancipation Proclamation because he thought that if all of the South's enslaved people were gone, that the fighters would have to return back to their farms. And so the Emancipation Proclamation freed those who were enslaved in states that were in open rebellion. So, Arkansas, Louisiana, Tennessee, Texas, Mississippi, Alabama. But it did not free those who were enslaved in the border states that remained loyal to the Union, Missouri, Kentucky. And so the Emancipation Proclamation was set to go into effect January 1st, 1863. So the enslaved people had heard about the Emancipation Proclamation. They had some knowledge of this watch night service that was happening. And so they combined the two and they called it Freedom Watch. And so they set up, they prayed, they brought in the new year in anticipation of freedom that was coming. And so I think that we do a lot of disservice to our ancestors and our traditions by not knowing the real meaning of some of these things that we're doing. So with watch night service, a lot of churches say that it's about praying in the new year, but that was not the original purpose that Black people used it for. They were watching the new year come in because they were anticipating the freedom that was to come. So I think that's important that we remember that. And when we celebrate watch night, you don't even have to be at your church to celebrate it, because most of the enslaved who celebrated it in their own cabins. Okay. And so remembering that it's about slavery, it's about the end of slavery and about freedom. Whatever is holding you captive now, you can look at this celebration as, I am anticipating freedom from whether it's drug abuse or alcoholism. As we enter into the new year, I'm anticipating freedom and I'm celebrating it now. And that kind of ties in the idea of, celebrating freedom as well as anticipating the good things that are to come into the new year.
See, I knew you were going to have a good lesson. Go ahead.
I try. I try to have something for you when I come.
Mm-hmm. So I remember telling you that growing up, we had watch meeting. And It was a tradition that we went every single year. And we basically had a church service. We had dinner. We'd have a prayer. No, we started with a prayer service. We'd have a break, and then we'd have a church service. Then we'd have dinner. And then we come back and we have another prayer service. And then we sing songs and we sit there and we have another prayer service go around. But we do that all the way until that new year came in. And like you said, we do a disservice to our ancestors because we didn't know what we were really celebrating. Nobody understood that it was that we were waiting for that upcoming freedom. We always said, oh, we're praying out the old year and praying in the new year, that you have blessings, the harvest is well. You pray. And I grew up in a farming community. So, of course, you're going to always pray that your crops come in well, that you have a good year of harvest and all that stuff. So we kind of, I think, of course, everybody's heart is in the right place when you're doing it. But if you just don't know the history, you just don't know the history. So that's why I was so glad that you, when you talked about this a while back, and I went, we got to talk about this more often because there's so many people now that are doing this at their churches, but don't know the real reason we're doing it at our churches. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, the question that I'm wrestling with in my article that I'm writing is there still a purpose for watch night service in our churches? Because I know there are churches that are moving away from it, and there are churches that have gone, because the church that I attended, we got away from the traditional watch night service, and it became more about a night of fellowship with the members. And then as we moved towards midnight, we would all move into the sanctuary and then have a prayer circle as the new year was coming in. But prior to that, it was just, fellowship. There was food and games and just having a good time with your co-members of the church. But I think the thing that I am struggling with now, as I mentioned, is it still necessary, or can we modify it and bring in some of the themes of Kwanzaa, right? Because Kwanzaa usually falls at the end of December, and so one of those nights, that night that's December 31st, whichever night of Kwanzaa that is, celebrating that night. Because you talk about growing up in a farming community and celebrating, praying that you'd have a good harvest. Kwanzaa is a celebration of the harvest. And I think that getting back to those concepts is kind of important in our growth as a people, right? Because you see that a lot of the Jewish holidays that they celebrate, Passover and Sukkot and all those things, it keeps them grounded and connected with their history. And I think that because our history was taken from us, our traditions were taken from us, as we start to create these new traditions like Watch Night Service and like Kwanzaa, we need to hold on and stay grounded in those traditions, which would keep us grounded as a people.
Now, see, I like the modification part, because I don't think we'll probably ever get totally away from it, and I wouldn't really want us to. But I do like the modification part about bringing in Kwanzaa and celebrating whatever night of Kwanzaa that is. But then I would also say add to that some type of historical reading that explains what you just explained. So
right, because
we know what we're here for.
Yeah, because after that initial Watch Night service in 1862, the following year, 1863, going into 1864, people would read a portion of the Emancipation Proclamation. And even the celebrations on January 1st even grew out of that. And they would have celebrations as a matter of fact, I've read newspaper articles where they're detailing the Emancipation Day celebrations that they were having in Little Rock in the 1860s. That they would have church services. They'd have a reading from the Emancipation Proclamation. They'd have barbecues and races and games, just celebratory events celebrating freedom. And now we're far away from that. We're far away from not being free, yet still close to not being free, but yet we don't celebrate the freedoms that we have. And I know that people are going to stay away from, people are going to tend to not want to celebrate freedom, because we've embraced celebrating holidays in a more Eurocentric format. And so we're celebrating New Year's Day the same way everybody else is, when historically we've celebrated New Year's Day. We celebrated New Year's Day as a people, celebrating what we had lost, which was freedom, and what we've now gained, the freedom of the Emancipation Proclamation.
Okay. Well, yeah, so that would be something to really, of course, this year we won't be doing any of that. No. As you say, Rona messed up all of that. But going forward, I mean, I would love to see, that would be something I talk to my pastor about at our church. When we do have watch meeting, let's talk about the historical significance of the event. Let's talk about why we're here, because
invite me, I'll come and I'll talk about it.
I will. Because I know somebody, look, I know somebody know all this stuff.
And it's interesting, right? We've kind of, that Emancipation Day celebration has kind of morphed into Juneteenth.
Yeah.
But I don't see why we can't celebrate both of them, right?
Thank you. We can have more than one celebration. We can.
Right. We can have more than one celebration. That's like you see people, who either celebrate Christmas or Kwanzaa, do them both, right?
Both. Yeah.
Because both of them are a part of our culture and a part of who we are as a people, right? We're a celebratory people, right? We like to gather, we like to celebrate. And so the more things we can celebrate, the more gathering we can do, the more community building we can do. And that's where we really need to work on, is building our community back.
Yeah.
Right? Because we've gotten away from community, and culturally we've gone to being my family, your family, when
Exactly.
historically African Americans have been about the larger community.
Yeah.
What can I do to aid the African American community? It's not just about my house and my family.
Exactly. We've gotten away from the we and the us, and it's more of a me and a my.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I would see churches around the city, and then I'm a firm believer in cross fellowship. That just means my church comes your church comes my church. All of this separate churches stuff has always bothered me. Have celebrations where a multi-church celebration where you have several churches that are fellowshipping at one time. Now, of course, we're not. Let me make sure that people don't think we're talking about this now. We understand there's a pandemic. Please do not do that. We're talking about after when things are back safe again, when we can go and do and move around, and there's vaccines, and we no longer have to wear masks and keep washing your hands, y'all. Don't stop washing your hands now.
Please don't.
Yeah, please don't. I want you to wash your hands every day, all day. But once we get to a place where we don't have to do the things we're doing right now because we're in a pandemic, I would love to see multi-church celebrations where we're all celebrating Christmas. We're all celebrating Kwanzaa. We're all celebrating our watch meetings, and we're doing that as a simultaneous community, rather than my church is doing this, your church is doing this, and we did that. And that bothers me, because if we're all supposed to be under one God and one Christ, how in the world is it so many different everythings? But I would love to see that happen in the churches where we do use that as a way to open the doors and tear down those walls, because over time, people start looking at the church as the place not to be, and they think, well, if I go to church, then church is stuffy, they dignified and blah, blah, all this other stuff. Have things that go on in the community that are open. And maybe watch night is that thing that can bring people back in. If you come in and you giving me historical significance of why we're doing watch meetings, we still have the food, we still have the fellowship, but you make it into an event to where people come in and they feel welcome, they feel at home, and you're also learning something about your culture. So I can see that being something that, once it's safe again and we can move around, I can see that as being a way for us to really, really, draw folks and to get them interested, and in having them come in. You're getting some education, you're getting a fellowship, you get a good meal. I mean, it's a lot of different ways you can look at this thing, but that would be wonderful to modify it. And like you said, celebrate the Kwanzaa part right along with everything, because people do go, I'll either celebrate Christmas or celebrate Kwanzaa. And why can't you not do both of them? I feel like if I want to celebrate whatever, I can. You just throw it in there together and do it your way. And then that's the only way you to start a tradition for your family. Also, start something new. Doesn't hurt to change the old stuff sometimes.
Yeah, and you kind of led me to another one of my my projects that I'm really passionate about, is looking at how over time our churches have changed. Right. So initially, when our churches were beginning to form, and in the mid to late 1800s and into the early 1900s, and even into the mid 1900s, churches were community churches. Because the people who lived in the community attended the church in the community. Sure. Well, with the introduction of freeway and people having access and being mobile, people started to move away from the communities that they grew up in where they attended church. And so they would return to the community to go to church, but they weren't doing anything in the community. So I started wrestling with the question of, are there still community churches, or are there just churches in communities?
That is a $1,000,000 question. And
Yeah,
it's
and
an appropriate question. Yeah. That's
yeah, I mean, because if there are community churches, then the churches are active in the community, and the communities should not be suffering and facing the ills that our communities are facing if the church is in the community.
That's true.
So, but that's just a side note.
Look,
One of those things.
that's a whole nother show.
Yeah.
That is a whole nother show. So let's switch gears just a little bit. Let's talk about the history of how we celebrate Christmas and Kwanzaa. I guess a little bit of all of them, but I was thinking about, my mind always goes to, we have our traditional food that we have every
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we have our chicken and dressing and all. Now that's as traditional, I think, as we get. We do chicken and dressing ham, and there has been a debate. I don't know if everybody knows Marty, and Marty's been posting these controversial food posts for the last 2 weeks and questioning why we eat certain stuff. So we had this big debate the other day about potato salad being on the Thanksgiving menu and all this stuff, and it was quite a few different things. But let's talk about what traditionally do how do we celebrate Christmas? What foods do we do? What traditions do we have as far as gift giving and all that stuff?
I'm not a food historian,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't speak with the level of expertise that I can talk about some subjects.
Mm-hmm.
But historically, going back, turkey and dressing and things like that weren't traditional Christmas foods. They may have had a goose,
Mm-hmm.
or a chicken, maybe. Oftentimes, historically, it would be venison and oysters and things like that. It wasn't until you get the idea of the traditional Christmas, which kind of came around in the early 1900s, and it was through the magic of marketing that people started to think, well, the turkey and all of these things are traditional. But I want to kind of go back a little bit before that and just talk about how we celebrate Christmas all together.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of what we do for Christmas now came in around during the reign of Queen Victoria in England in the early 1800s. She reigned up until like the 1870s. And so the idea came into in vogue because her husband was German.
Mm-hmm.
And so he brought the German traditions of the Christmas tree and the Yule log and all of that stuff into English society. And then that's when the English started to celebrate it, which Americans picked up on too. But even prior to that, it's interesting that in the Plymouth colony in the 1690s, the Puritans outlawed Christmas.
Wow.
Because what people did on Christmas was they partied and got drunk.
They still do it.
Yeah, well, but the Puritans, because of their strict, pure beliefs in Christianity, they outlawed Christmas. And it wasn't until the late 17, early 1800s that Christmas began to be celebrated in America again. So, and it's funny because these holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving, which we kind of think are just been around forever, Thanksgiving wasn't a federal holiday until the Civil War.
Wow.
So, these things are kind of new. And I know I'm jumping around, but that's kind of the people reject Kwanzaa because they say it's a made up holiday and it only came around in the 1960s. Well, Thanksgiving is only about 100 years older than Kwanzaa. And all holidays are made up, right? It was at some point somebody said, let's celebrate mothers. And so they created Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And then as a result of Mother's Day, somebody was like, well, we have to create Father's Day. And Valentine's Day was made as a marketing ploy to get people to buy gifts. So these holidays, which seem so entrenched in in human society, and most of them are American, because not everybody celebrates the same holidays, but these holidays that seem so entrenched in American society, at some point they were made up, just like at a point Kwanzaa was created, and there will be future holidays that are created.
Exactly.
So don't be so such a traditionalist and say I can't celebrate Kwanzaa because it's only 60 years old at this point. Well, at some point Thanksgiving was 60 years old and people celebrated it.
Well, any of them, I look at most holidays, and I know people that don't celebrate or recognize, not necessarily celebrate, don't recognize. What did I say the other day? I was going to start calling them significant calendar events. So for everybody that says, don't celebrate the holidays, okay, significant calendar events. And that could be anything from your birthday to one of these so-called holidays that we all recognize or we celebrate or whatever. So just to not have you thinking that it's all about, and I tell folks all the time anyway, Thanksgiving is a day, Christmas is a day, Valentine's Day is a day. All of them are just a day.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the significance of the day or the word or whatever you want to call it. My thing is this, and it's always been the same. It's a time we can all come together. I can see my family. I'm glad that we're alive. We have some food to eat. We get a chance to spend time with each other. I can hug on you, love on you. You can do the same and go home.
But not right now.
And look, and go home. But yeah, not right now.
And go home.
And go home. Because the beauty of it is they go home. Everybody go home. But it's not, we used to do the whole thing. Well, let's sit around the table and everybody say what they're thankful for. But should you be doing that anyway, every day, always, anyway?
Yeah, you should.
You shouldn't be waiting. You don't have to wait till a day of the year to do that. If I want to give you a gift, I don't have to wait till Christmas. And one of the things when the kids were growing up that I did really wanted them to understand anyway is we're not celebrating your birthday. I don't owe you a Christmas gift. And I think people get that in their head. It's commercialized to the point where we get into this thing thinking we are owed a gift on Christmas. You're really not. We're not celebrating your birthday. If we're going to just use it in the Christian sense, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the day we're celebrating the day that we say Christ was born. And we already know he was not born on December 25th. Because some folks
you would be surprised at the people.
I'm not. That's why I said that. We know he wasn't. Because I know some people that was like, yes, no, he wasn't. The date didn't even exist. So how could it be? But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. But you're not owed a gift, And I need people, I always tell the kids, understand that part. Even as little kids, they understood. We don't have to get a gift. My thing is this. If I'm alive, we're all alive, we're well, and we're together. If I can fix you a peanut butter jelly sandwich, if that's all we got, as long as we're alive and we're together, I'm good. I'm not real big on gifts. Now, I love decorating. I will decorate to now and then. But I'm not crazy about, if I don't get a gift, I'm not going to cry about it. But I will try to make sure, the people around me get something. But it's still not about that it's not about that to me. It's really literally just about being with your family during that time. Because we grew up kind of poor. And there was times where we may have gotten one gift each. And that's what you had. So I never could get, be one of those kids that was, oh man, Christmas coming. No, because we might not have gotten anything. We might have gotten one little small gift and that was all we had to get. So I got to a place in my head where, well, number one, it's not my birthday. So I'm not owed a gift. Number two, if I don't get a gift, I ain't gonna die.
But even on your birthday, you're not owed a gift. What did you do? You didn't do anything.
You just got here.
Right.
But you know what? Now I celebrate. I celebrate my birthday pretty much now. At a certain age, you can celebrate your birthday every year, all year long, if you want to. But I do celebrate my whole month. Now,
Really?
if you give me a gift, that's fine. If you don't say nothing but happy birthday, that's fine. Ain't about that. I'm just happy to be here. I've
Yeah.
had some illnesses that could have kept me. I could have been gone a long time ago. So I'm
Right.
happy to be here. But I just, get to a point where you get tired of folks going with, oh, I'm about, and you hear people brag about what they bought people for Christmas, and I spent $300 or $400, and I spent $1,000. Why? I don't understand. That's a lot. Now I know if you can do it, do it. That's your business. I ain't telling you not to. That's your money. Do what you want to do. But trust and believe. Anybody that's around me will tell you one thing gonna do. If anything, one thing that you're gonna be able to do when you come see me, you're gonna eat to your heart's content. Now I will cook, and I will cook way too much. So if the best thing you're gonna get from me is you're gonna get full. If you don't get nothing else, you'll get full. So let's see, we got a couple more minutes. Let's talk more about the history again. We'll talk more about Kwanzaa. What else? What can we do around Kwanzaa? What are some of the principles? Some of the stuff you can tell us about Kwanzaa.
Well, like I said, I don't really know a lot about Kwanzaa. And that I kind of feel bad about that. But before I started working, at Mosaic Templars Cultural Center, I was one of those people that was like, I'm not celebrating Kwanzaa. It's a made up holiday. But now that I'm learning more about it, and I'm seeing that there are people in the community who are people I respect who celebrate Kwanzaa, it makes me want to learn more about it. But like I said, it's a harvest celebration. It's celebrating the harvest. It's celebrating the bounty of the earth, and that celebrating community and cooperative work and cooperative economics and things that we should be embracing as a community to better, so that everyone can rise instead of just individuals rising. We can rise as a community, and I think that that's important in where we are in the history right now.
So I think, like you said, this year going forward, especially since you all had the programs coming up where we can actually watch and learn more about it, I think that next year that'll be something that more households will be able to get into, because we've had that education in place for one. As you know,
Right,
what
right.
I do is not something that we learned about in school, of course, and
No,
really I don't really even know people that just talk about it. So, I think with Mosaic Templars doing the upcoming event and doing that kind of people are watching, they're learning. I think this year you'll have a lot of people that'll probably get on it and start celebrating, because they'll be watching every night. Here's what we need to do, and they'll go out and they'll get the information and set it up and be able to celebrate. So I think it's a wonderful thing that we're getting that education, that we'll be able to just see it live, because I'm interested in seeing how people actually celebrate. So that's going to be something good for me to watch, so that
yeah,
I know. And then of course that's one of those things. I have grandkids, and they're from 2 to 9 years old. So I want them to learn more cultural stuff. I want them to learn how to celebrate those things and to learn the principles of Kwanzaa. So it'll be interesting to have them watch it, and then I watch it, and we try to come together and we do our celebration. So that could be a new tradition for families this year, especially when you have a young family and you're trying to find things to do with your kids and to keep them interested and teach them lessons at the same time. So I think
right.
having that nightly reminder of how to celebrate it, what the principles mean, how to just go up with how to conduct it, I think that's going to be awesome for people to learn. So I'm glad that you all are doing that.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to everyone tuning in this Sunday night at 5 p.m. on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel to see our very first virtual Christmas event, a very merry MTCC Holiday Special. And it's modeled after the Christmas variety shows of the late 70s and early 80s, like Christmas with Dean Martin and Sherry and Lamb Chop's Christmas Special. So that's kind of what we modeled it after. So as I mentioned, there's going to be some singing and some poetry, and Mrs. Claus reads a story. Maria Hoskins, Christmas on the Farm. There's going to be some cookie and pie demonstrations, and Santa reading letters. So it's going to be a really good event, and we look forward to everyone tuning in. We want you guys to start watch parties so you can watch with your friends. I'll be manning the chat room so you can chat with me during the event, and we'll just have a good time. Like you said, Wanda, get you some hot chocolate, some cookies, and let's just have a good Christmas special early on to, usher in the spirit of the holiday so that we can move forward and, remember what this is about, good tidings and good cheer and celebrating, peace on earth and goodwill towards men, because that's one of the things that we're really in desperate need of, especially in our country with the way people have divided after the election. We need some peace and some good tidings.
Yes. So I'm excited about it. I will definitely be tuning in. I'm going to figure out how to do a watch party with me and my grandkids, just in case they're not with me, but I'm excited about it. And I appreciate you taking time tonight to come on and talk about the very merry, I keep saying Christmas, very merry holiday, MTC Holiday Special. I'm going to say it right in a minute. But thank you so much for coming on and talk about that. Don't forget to make sure that you send me the information on how we can get the craft kits from the libraries.
Okay, I will. I'll email you tomorrow. You can, and we'll post it also on our Facebook page, so that the information is out there. And as always, it's been my pleasure to spend this hour with you. Can't wait until we do it again. It's always fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. We're gonna go. I'm not gonna even make y'all stay till 8 o'clock because, to be honest with you, my dinner is in the oven and it's smelling good, and I'm hungry. So, thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate you as always. Thanks for the history lesson and thanks for the information on a very merry MTCC Holiday Special that's coming up December 6th.
Sunday, yeah. December 6th at 5 p.m.
5 p.m. So make sure you all tune in, start your watch parties, get your cocoa, get your marshmallows, grab the babies, and tune in for a really great family show. If you remember any of those, now you kind of probably aged a few of us on those 70s things. But if you remember any of those old shows from back in the day, then I think this is going to be an interesting show. So make sure you tune in and come back next week, next Tuesday. I have not decided on a topic just yet. And that's not like me. I normally have topics a month ahead of time, but I've had a lot going on. So come back next Tuesday. Again, we'll have a great show for you. We'll have some more information. And as always, I'll have another amazing guest sitting in that seat. And I appreciate you all. Thank you for tuning in tonight. This is Wonder Lowe, I'm the host and the creator of the Ladies Lounge. So we will see you again next week right here at 7 p.m. next Tuesday night. Thanks again. Make sure you go and like the pages. Instagram, Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. And make sure on YouTube you hit the little bell so every time that there's a new video posted, you get an alert for it. So make sure that you like the pages and you subscribe. Again, thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next Tuesday here in the Ladies Lounge. It's Wonder Lowe. See you next week. Bye.